Okay, so Ellen DeGeneres turned out to be a hypocritical degenerate. Who didn't see that one coming? So this is from Bleeding Fools, the Whisper Network Part 2, and once you start reading it, you will be hooked. I'm convinced that mainstream comics, films, entertainment in general is full of monsters. Ellen DeGeneres, Epstein, Weinstein, Giselle Maxwell, even comics with Wade, Dan Slott, Al Ewing, Amy Chu, Stephanie Cook, Heather Antos. These people control an industry, but they can't force people to buy the product. I think the normies in comics are on the Comicsgate, though every once in a while I suspect that there are some professionals who wish that they could jump ship. How would you like to be a comic pro who can get pushed around by people like Mags and Heather Antos? Say you're Joe Bob writer who actually makes tons of money for the company, and you have someone who sells 1,000 copies a month giving you advice. You can't tell the cat person to GTFO because they can go on Twitter and possibly get you fired. I think a lot of these guys are just keeping silent. I'm sure some of them would love to tap into the Comicsgate market, but they aren't allowed to because some collection of cat ladies will destroy them on Twitter. Those cat ladies are doing this on purpose. They've been attacking Comicsgate nonstop for years because they want control of these guys who actually do have the ability to sell. Which kind of leads to the question of, why are these low sellers even in the industry? There is so much propaganda, hate built up against Comicsgate that it would be very difficult for a mainstream pro to come talk to us and do an interview. The guys who are being pressured have to agree with these cat ladies that Comicsgate is bad because it's a binary. If Comicsgate is neutral and the pros aren't talking to us, then they have to admit that they are prevented from doing so and are being intimidated. Blink twice if you need extraction. Let me take a contrarian position and say something weird here. Andy Diggle tweets that comics are for everyone. There is no excuse for harassment. No room for homo, transphobia, misogyny, or istophobicism in comics. Don't be a dick. Of course, everyone retweets it. I agree with comics are for everyone, period. For a few reasons. Comics is just a widget that is bought and sold. That's it. Just sell the hot dog. The more important reason I disagree with it is, what do these words mean? Who defines them? Who creates these words? Why are you excluding cisphobia, heterophobia, sexism against men, misandry? To not include protection for men, boys, hetero, and cis people, you discriminate against them. People just mindlessly retweet things like stamp out transphobia, but it's a slippery slope. CNN just tweeted that people with cervixes should get cancer screenings at age 25. Using terms like men and women are istophobic. Should mentally ill people be allowed to vote or the Second Amendment? Now, what if transphobia is declared mental illness? Should they be allowed to involuntarily commit you to a hospital for your own good? You see where I'm going with this? These small steps are how they control you. It takes balls to stand up against this stuff. Because if you start asking questions, they instantly know that you're a wrong thinker. Remember what happened to Neil Adams? He asked a question. He got scared straight. He found out who was in charge, and it ain't him. What if you say, I'm a Muslim or Jewish? Our teachings say that we don't accept homosexuality or equal treatment for women. Now you have two fundamentally different ideologies at odds. Religion versus Marxism. Of course, in real life, nobody would say anything because they're smart enough not to make waves. They just heart the tweet. They don't believe it. But the truth doesn't matter. Compliance does. Eventually, down the line, there will be a hard conflict between Marxism and Islam in Europe, but that is decades away, and Islam will win. Marxists sacrifice other people. Muslims will die for their beliefs. Communism lasted 100 years. Islam, 1400. Right now in comics and most public face industries, making waves against the cultural zeitgeist will get you fired. But none of these new wrong-think rules are applied equally. People go to cons, they work during the day, and they party at night. The 40-year-old veteran bangs the 25-year-old assistant editor. It's consensual between two adults. It's just a fun part of going on business trips. But nowadays, it's something a woman can hold over the guy's head. But legally or ethically, there's no issue. Nothing that happens after the sex affects the event itself. But we're talking the court of public opinion here. They won't accuse the guy of a struggle snuggle because that's defamatory and the punishment for perjury is a felony. But they will portray the 25-year-old as a young woman who was practically forced to drink by the 50-year-old super predator. There is no civil or criminal case, but there is Twitter, which can be even worse. Take Eric Esquivel. We all had a laugh at him because he was an asshole SJW who got his comeuppance. But was he guilty? Did we ever hear any sworn testimony? I don't remember, but we are all left with the impression the guy is a predator. So when does he get to go back to work? If he was convicted of something, he might serve time and come out after serving his debt to society. But when have you served your time for a rumor? You can't. The internet is forever. The accusation will hang over his head forever. These people use the Whisper Network to control the narrative, to decide who needs to be canceled. The funny thing is, in comics, the least talented people are the most powerful, and they love humiliating the people with talent. Imagine passing a pledge around for men not to harass women in the industry. Why are women in an industry filled with predators? Just start a woman's-only company. Are you asking guys like Dan Slott and Mark Wade not to struggle snuggle you? Please sign a document pledging not to commit crime. That doesn't make sense. Laws exist. The state has standing and power without your consent. Your person in the jurisdiction is consent. What exactly are you asking, and why are you only asking men? Legally, both men and women may commit that type of battery, and good-looking men know that women commit the majority of that type of harassment. The pledge is just them flexing power. Imagine if you didn't sign it. They would take that as proof of your intent to assault. Some guy was on vacation, and he retweeted that woke tweet a little bit late. Heather Antos said she was disappointed in him. Never apologize in any way, any shape or form to SJWs. How humiliating and degrading would it be to have someone hand you this thing as if you need to sign it? Please don't be a criminal. You've just handed them power and undermined your own base of support. People will support a rebel who tells these whining bitches to kiss your ass. Never do what Dynamite did. Backing down just makes everybody hate you and not respect you. You may not like someone who holds an opinion that is not currently socially in vogue, but you respect their balls for continuing to hold that opinion publicly because they believe what they believe. All the while that these people run these Whisper networks, they're not actually selling product. June 2020, we witnessed Alex DeCampi saying she doesn't believe that Snyder would say no to abusing, harassing, grooming, and manipulating. What do those terms mean? Are you talking the legal definitions? No, you're not. Because if you're talking the legal definitions, you pull out the black letter law. You're talking these weird Marxist definitions where they mean whatever we want them to mean. He wouldn't intervene if he saw women being abused. If you saw women being abused, pepper spray the abuser and call the police. What does that mean? Again, she gave no evidence to back up the insinuation. God, some words I'm just not able to say when I need to say them. That Mr. Snyder had ever sexually abused, harassed, or marginalized anyone. What does that mean? And yet, without cause, she publicly let his peers, even his wife, know that she thought Scott was capable of any of these horrific offenses when she shared it with her 24,000 followers. I'm sure they all appreciate. See, a lot of this stuff is not legally defamation, and defamation's it's a real bitch to prove. Believe it or not, so is sexual harassment in the workplace. Legally, it's a bitch to prove too. Actually, a lot of attorneys will advise you, if you're being harassed in the workplace, you probably want to just find another job, because it's It's just easier to go out with a good recommendation, which sounds like kind of it's like a bigger problem of whistleblower laws and societal protections. But like you personally, if you're being harassed, you just kind of want to move on. You get that good recommendation and just, I don't know. Anyway, so she goes, this is cute, but we don't believe you. We don't believe that you're not going to struggle snuggle us. And it goes way beyond this to things like speaking up and using your privilege. Okay, these are you're assuming the conclusion. What privilege? A lot of people, even the whole concept of privilege, once you start accepting these terms without pushing back, you're saying, yes, I totally buy into your cultural Marxism. No, stop them at every single effing term. And so you're going to have to define these words for me. I'm not sure what privilege means or why you think I have privilege and you don't, or who does have privilege and who doesn't. Every single time they try to push this bullshit on you, push back against it. Don't argue from emotion, just be calm and rational. And then she says down here, it goes to refusing to work with a publisher that continues to employ known harassers. Are you talking about adjudicated in a court of law with the jury of your peers, due process? No, you're talking where the accusation is the proof. This is just witch trials and lynch mobs. And you know, it's funny, witch trials were a group of girls accusing women and having them extinguished from this mortal coil without any due process. It goes to saying to all white male panels, no to all white male panels of cons. Well, the solution there is just don't identify as white. Checkmate, SJWs. Token numbers of marginalized creators as guests. Well, all you have to do is identify, like I do, as a marginalized and oppressed woman of color. That's how I identify myself. It's all very, very nice to say pretty words of support and bless, but will you actually risk your comfort to dismantle this system? You're selling comics. You're selling a widget. Just sell the widget. How does this help you sell your product? Product? We don't give a fuck about the product. We want control. We would rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I will see you on the next episode.